Hey YouTube, this is Trains and Destinations, and today we're going to take a quick look at the Microsoft Surface Laptop Go. Now the Surface Laptop Go came out in October of 2020, and what makes this laptop unique is its small size. So as I take away the box here, this laptop is only 12.4 inches, so this is the smallest Surface laptop that they have ever made. It's essentially around the size of a Surface Pro, except of course instead of being a tablet, it is a full-on laptop. And we'll go ahead and take a look at the laptop in a sec, but now let's go back to the box. You can get this laptop in 3 colors. This one is the platinum, but if you get one of the upper trims, you can also get this in ice blue as well as sandstone. So it's a pretty typical Surface box, and on the back you got all of your information. Now as far as this specific model goes, this is the base model, which starts at $550, although I got this one for way less money. I'm not keeping this laptop. I've actually already sold it, but I decided to make a video of it before I go ahead and send it out. So this is the base model. In terms of the specs, it has the Intel Core i5 10th gen processor. I believe it is the 1035G1. That's the processor, which is a quad-core processor that runs at only 1 gigahertz, which is quite impressive for a quad-core i5 processor. Along with that, this laptop has 4 gigabytes of RAM, as well as 64 gigabytes of storage, which that is pretty pitiful, but honestly for me, I've actually been able to work with that. Now, 4 gigs of RAM is quite annoying, but honestly the storage isn't that bad because I mainly use cloud storage. And so if you're someone who mainly uses Google Drive to keep all of your items on, or Microsoft OneDrive, then honestly the 64 gigs of storage is not a problem. You know, with basic programs on here like Google Chrome, my Google Drive, among a few other things, I still had at least 25, 26 gigs of free space, which is good enough. So no, you're not going to be able to store like any pictures on here or make videos on this laptop with this particular configuration. But if you just need something for school or college or just basic business work, you know, this laptop will work just fine. Or if you want a streaming machine, you know, this will work for streaming too. So going over to the design of the laptop, it is aluminum on the top, and the lid as well as the deck lid is aluminum. But as you can see, this is plastic down here. And on the right hand side of the laptop, you have your Surface connector. So this is pretty self-explanatory. So it's the same sort of Surface connector that you would find on other Surface products. And as you can see, it attaches just like that magnetically. There's a little light there telling you that the charger is plugged in. And then of course, you know, you can easily yank it away. So obviously that's a good charger. Obviously, you know, Microsoft's version of the old Apple MagSafe. So obviously, allowing you to pull out the cord this easily means that, you know, you're not going to be able to trip over the cable. You're not going to drag the laptop off your desk if you get caught in the cord. So, you know, that's a nice feature, and thankfully the Surface carries that over. Now, looking at the top of the laptop, all you have is the Windows logo, and in fact, that is the only branding on this laptop. Other than that, it's a completely clean design, which is pretty nice. Now, going to the left-hand side of the laptop, this is where your ports are, or lack thereof. There's only 3 ports on this laptop. So you have a USB 3.0 port, a USB Type-C port, and a headphone jack. And that's it. So that's all the ports you get on this little guy. And as you can see, it does slope down a bit. So that's a pretty nice design element, I would say. And then if I flip over the laptop to the bottom, as you can see, there is nothing. You do have your Microsoft logo there. You got rubber feet that go all the way across the top and bottom of the laptop. And then behind the hinge, that's where your intake and exhaust is for the fans. But as you can see, it's a pretty clean design. Again, it is plastic at the bottom and metal on the top, as well as the keyboard deck lid. Now, let me go back to the box real quick just to show you what you get if you do get this laptop. So the unboxing experience is very similar to any other Surface. So in here, this is where your charger would come in. Obviously I have it out right now, but if you get this laptop, your charger will come in this slot here, and then in this slot is your instruction manual. As you can see, instruction manual, warranty booklet, you know, pretty simple packaging, which I like. And, you know, it is nice that even though this is a cheap Surface product, Again, it only starts at $550. You still get that premium unboxing experience as well as premium style materials. And what I mean by that is that this laptop is extremely well built. So as you can see, I can lift the hinge with one finger. It's a very fluid hinge. It does stay in place when I stop moving it. So it's a very strong, very sturdy hinge, but very smooth too, as you can see. And so the build quality of this laptop is absolutely phenomenal. This easily has the build quality of a $800 to $1,000 laptop, not something that starts at only $550. Although, you know, if you really want a Surface laptop go, I would probably get the mid-trim, which the mid-trim has 128 gigs of storage and 8 gigs of RAM. This, again, is the bare bones base model. It will work, again, if you just need this for school or college or very basic business work or just streaming, you know, but you know, otherwise you do want to get a higher end model because you'll get more RAM and more storage, which will make this more effective. Now looking at the keyboard here, the keyboard on this laptop is pretty nice. It's very nice to type on. There's actually a good amount of travel. There's a good amount of travel there. So you can hear nice audible click. As you can see, nice audible click there. So, you know, not bad at all. You know, it's not the most amazing keyboard in the world. Unfortunately, there's no backlighting. That's something that was cut for cost reasons. But, you know, it is a nice keyboard to type on. The palm rests are big, just big enough to where, you know, I can easily, you know, you can easily see yourself writing an essay on this. I could easily see myself writing an essay on this. So again, this is a pretty good laptop for school and college. Now, looking at the display here, it is 12.4 inches. That's because this has a 3:2 aspect ratio, and it does look pretty good. Now, it's not quite 1080p, and I'll show you that right here. So the resolution is 1536 by 1024, so it's a very odd resolution. It's not 1080p, but it's really not that bad. Unless you look like right at the screen, you really don't notice anything. So not bad at all. And just real quick, going into the task manager, again, this is the Core i5 1035G1 processor, as you can see. And then this one does have the 4 gigabytes of RAM. It has an SK Hynix eMMC drive. Again, this does not have an SSD unless you get the 128 or 256 gig model. Now, if you're wondering what an eMMC drive is, it's basically an SD card. In fact, when I go to the disk, it literally says SD. So it's essentially an SD card. Now, in my opinion, these are better than hard drives, but again, these are going to be slower than SSDs and generally just not as good. So I'm not saying this base model is a bad deal. Again, it really depends on your use caseage, but if you do get the base model, you're only going to get an eMMC drive, essentially a glorified SD card, rather than a full SSD, which of course would be a lot faster and hold more storage than this would. Now, one positive though is that this does have Wi-Fi 6, so that's very nice. So you do get the fastest Wi-Fi that's out right now, and this does come with integrated Intel graphics. Now, speaking of the trackpad, as you can see, it is very smooth. The cursor movement's very smooth. This is not a glass surface, it's plastic, but it's just so smooth. This is a very smooth surface. The click is pretty muted, but pretty nice. Really not much to complain about. It might be a little small, but overall this is a very nice trackpad. And as you can see, the design of this laptop is pretty basic, but functional. Now, in terms of preloaded programs, you really don't get much out of the box. It's pretty basic. I've done a few changes, but essentially this is all you get. And oh yeah, this is also a touchscreen. Now, this does not come with a Surface Pen. In fact, the pen won't work with this. Also, this is as far back as the screen goes, so you cannot use this as a tablet. It's not a convertible. But that being said, being able to use it as a touchscreen is fine. And as you can see, it does work pretty well. As you can see, so you do move your Surface, accessories, regulatory information. So you do get this integrated Surface app, so that's pretty nice. And I guess going into Edge real quick, we'll take a quick look at web browsing. So we'll just load up a news website. So as you can see, loading web pages is pretty good. So not bad at all. So as you can see, it is pretty fast. I go to this other news website. Scrolling is nice and easy. As you can see, no stuttering whatsoever. Although I will say that if you load this thing up with at least 6 or more tabs, it really doesn't matter if you're using Google Chrome or Edge, since they're basically the same thing now. If you do load up this laptop with 6 or more tabs, then this thing will start to get a little slow. It'll start to get a little slow, and it just won't be a very pleasant experience. So there we go. There's the website. So there's the NOAA website, and as you can see, the image itself on the screen is pretty clear. The brightness is very good. As you can see, at max brightness, it blows out the camera. So I'm going to keep it here, and it looks pretty nice. This is a glossy screen, but it's not that reflective. I think it's bright enough to where you won't see a reflection. So it's not bad at all. Now, I will say though, there are a few issues with this laptop. So specifically this configuration with only 4 gigs of RAM, if you have more than 6 tabs open in Edge or Google Chrome, then tabs will start to close out and it'll get a little slow. It's not too bad. This does have a good processor, but it'll be fine. It'll be just fine. I will say though, a bigger issue is that this thing does not work well under load. So because of the fact that the only cooling on this laptop is done behind the vent here, because the cooling exhaust is behind the vent, and because you have a plastic bottom, it does mean this laptop does run warm. And in fact, using this laptop, not even for doing anything that hard, this thing has gotten really hot. The fan will just go on full blast, and it's almost too hot to the touch on certain parts of the bottom. So this laptop does not have very good cooling. I would say another downside is the battery. This only has a 40 watt-hour battery. Now, you would think a laptop like this would get amazing 12-hour battery life, but it doesn't. In my experience, I only get, I would say, maybe 7, at best 8 hours of use out of this. So if you use it lightly, you'll get through the whole day, but otherwise, you're going to have to charge up your laptop here before the end of the day. So if you're thinking this is a battery life champ, it is not. And so that's another pretty big downside of this laptop. And, I would say that those are really the only 2 downsides. This laptop really isn't a very good value for money. For this price, you can easily get laptops with way more storage and way more RAM. And so essentially you're paying for the small size, the absolutely excellent build quality, and the Microsoft Surface name. But to that end though, if you care more about style than function, and you want something that's going to be durable, I will say that this is quite good. Although I will note that on my particular one, I've had issues sometimes where the screen brightness won't stay consistent. It'll kind of go sort of up and down like this automatically. It only happens sometimes, but it is an issue that I've noticed with the Surface Laptop Go. So just be aware of that. I'm not sure if the screen's supposed to be like that or if it's some sort of defect, but that's something that I have noticed. Oh yeah, and you can see there, if you close the lid briefly, you open it up, you just hit the space bar and boom, you're back here to where you were. Another thing is that this laptop does have a fingerprint sensor. Now, if you get an upgraded model, the Space model does not have the fingerprint reader. Oh, as you can see, I just turned it off, but just hit the space bar, any key, boom, you're back to where you were. So that's nice. So it doesn't automatically lock when you close the lid. It depends on how much time you allot for it to stay on until it goes into sleep mode. But like I said, scrolling here is pretty smooth. I don't think I can show off the webcam, because I don't have Skype set up, but the webcam on this is pretty good. It's 720p, and you do have a lot of microphones at the top here, so this will be pretty good for Zoom meetings and other video chat software. So, what's my summary on this laptop? Is this the best value for money laptop you can get? No, far from it. But, if you want a small premium laptop for around $600 or a little more than that, then this will work. This will get the job done. I do think there are better options out there, but if you do want the best build quality for the price and you want a Surface, but you don't have the money to get a Surface Laptop 3, or you find the Surface Pro unnecessary and you find a laptop form factor like this more towards what you need, then yeah, I would totally recommend buying the Microsoft Surface Laptop Go. Now, for me personally, I would prefer a laptop that, provides more, storage and stuff. So this laptop really isn't for me. But if you're in school, you're in college, small business, or just something to stream Netflix on and check email, then this will work, perfectly fine. So anyway, Thank you for watching my review on the Surface Laptop Go.